Hello, I am Fry and Chill, and what you see before you, this mess you see before you, I should say, is what I like to call Albaz Snake Eyes. So the basic idea is we're taking the Snake Eyes cards, the Snake Eyes engine, very popular, very meta right now, and we're combining it with the Quim Ecclesia Cartesia package. I'm not calling it branded. Uh, I might as well. I might. You can call it branded if you want, I guess. But I personally am calling it Albaz because none of these cards are actually branded cards. There's not a single card in here that is branded or mentions branded. However, they're all united, or most of them are united by the fact that they mention Fallen of Albaz by name, and that's the tagline that functions. And also, we're running an it package. We've got a World Legacy World Chalice, Successions, a Sorrow even because we're also running Lib. Um, and then some non-engine. Let me get into the nitty gritty of this deck list first before I go into some combos. So first we've got the 3 Bonfire. Obviously, gets us to search everything. It's flexible. It can either grab us a Snake Eye Ash to normal summon and just do a Snake Eyes line, or what usually we're trying to do is just get Populous and go straight into that, because we want to conserve our normals for Quim, Ecclesia, even Cartesia or Golden Sword Soul if we open them. Then we got one each of every Snake Eyes monster. So we got one Ash, one Populous, one Oak, one Birch, one Snake Eyes Flame Birch Dragon, and one Snake Eyes Diabellestar. You can run more, obviously. Just the Snake Eyes line on its own, if you do end up normal summoning Ash, isn't bad, but I do prefer to just conserve the normal for, these cards if we open both of them. And ideally, that means we open a Wanted, or we open a Diabellestar, or we open a Bonfire. But if you wanted to, you could cut down some of the non-engine space to, put in more Ashes and Populuses. More Ashes and Populuses. Yeah. But personally, I'm just, testing out, as much non-engine space as possible, keeping it as bare bones as possible. I haven't had much chance to test this other than, testing out, different 2-card combos between the 2 engines. So it may be necessary to actually introduce more Ash and Populous so that it's not too bricky. But if it's not too bricky, then the non-engine space is more important to make sure you can more effectively go second. We've also got a single Divine Temple of the Snake Eye, which is how we're going to place Snake Eyes Diabellestar, which I personally think is a very strong card. It's an extender that basically pays for its own costs by however you placed it. It's better to place this than any other card, usually, unless, it's Flamberge placing it, which isn't usually how you're going to place this card. This card usually places Flamberge to be summoned later. Also, we're using this instead of a Dramatic Chase, mainly because of playing around Dark Ruler no more. Because the idea is we can just wait for whatever we want to hit whenever the opponent summons the monster we want to get rid of, which we'll talk about later. Then we can summon Flamberge. Flamberge can summon the other card, and the other card can use its can be a form of disruption. But we can hold those guys in the back row as long as possible, as long as we need to. And that means that we don't die just to start of main phase 1, Dark Ruler, right? That way it doesn't turn off our Flamberge and it doesn't turn off the other card, whatever it is. So we can hold those back just to as insurance, I guess. That's why I prefer the field spell over Snake Eyes Dramatic Chase. Anyways, we got one original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye. I was considering running 2, but for now we're just going to be running 1. 3 Diabellestar, 3 Wanted. We're running 3 Diabellestar, even though, you don't get the drawback. You do have to go -1 to summon her. But I just honestly think that's fine because, to make this work as consistently as possible, we need to preserve our normal. So we're running 3 Diabellestar, and not getting the drawback isn't that bad because we do resolve the combo. Then we're going to get more than enough advantage to make up for it by the time it rolls back over to our turn. Okay, now we're running 3 Guiding Quim the Virtuous. This is our best normal summon, the ideal normal summon. Just hit my mic, I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, this is the best normal summon. It sends any card that mentions Fallen Albaz from the deck to the grave, and then summons back a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz whenever a card leaves the extra deck, which we can trigger quite easily despite the Snake Eyes engine being a main deck engine because of Linkuriboh. Thanks to Linkuriboh, if we can just do our Snake Eyes engine, by the time we're going to make our Linkuriboh, we just normal Quem first, we Quem send Ecclesia, and then we make the Linkuriboh, usually using Populace, to trigger Quem. And we can even chainbot the Quem from like Ghost Bell by using the Populace, because Populace's effect can't get Ghost Belled. And we've also got Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous, who can tribute herself during the main phase as a quick effect to summon a Sword Soul monster or Fallen Albaz from our hand or deck. Our targets for this are during, if we're just comboing, we're going to use the Golden Sword Soul. We're going to summon the Golden Sword Soul, and on our opponent's turn, we're going to drop down an Albaz. Or we can just drop our opponent's, we can also drop the Albaz during our own turn if we're going second and we want to break a board to force an interaction. Or sometimes, once in a blue moon, you know, our opponent might have a board that doesn't have a fast enough interaction to, like, stop the Albaz, to pop it, or to bounce it, or to negate it. And we might actually just get to make a Mirror Jade and help, like, further break the board, right? We got one World Legacy World Chalice. So this is the best. I think this is definitely the best target to get off of Ib's summon. And we do want this. We do want this card for several reasons why we want World Legacy World Chalice. The first is just that it's a 5. That was the first reason I chose it, because one of our combos leaves us with a line where we can make Ib using a level 4 tuner and one of our level 1 Snake Eyes that we have left over. And this is usually after we activated Flamberge, so we'll have another level 1, so we make Golden Cloud Beast Malong, is what we Synchro Summon, which can increase its level by 1. You know, it's secret effect that no one uses because no one ever really Synchro Summons this thing, but we're Synchro Summoning this. This is actually not a mistake. I did... Granguignol is not meant to be in here. Malong just happens to also synergize, so even without Granguignol here, this guy is still useful, I guess. But anyways, then he can increase his level by 1, make himself a 7, and it's a tuner. So then we summon out World Legacy World Chalice, and then we make a 12. Usually Crimson Dragon, because we've already made Lulu Lilith by that point in that combo. Then we can use Crimson Dragon, shooting Quasar, and that's the combo that usually ends with shooting Quasar plus Calamity Lock. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. We've also got one Cartesia. This is just a tuner that can summon itself. Usually, we're trying to use this for, like, turn 3 follow-up, but it's not the worst thing in the world if we draw it, because, like, Snake Eyes combo plus a vanilla level 4 tuner, thanks to Ib, can actually get us quite a bit of advantage in a pretty decent board. And in those cases, whenever we open just like a vanilla, we can actually use like World Legacy World Chalice as a disruption that we summon off of Flamberge. We can place it in our spell and trap zone, and then Flamberge can summon the World Legacy World Chalice on our opponent's turn, which, like, it does have a disruptive effect of if a if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, you contribute it and then send that monster to the grave, which is pretty useful. Which is, like, another reason why we should run World Legacy World Chalice. But so we've got the fact that it's a 5, the fact that it can be used as a disruption in certain combos, and also the fact that World Legacy World Chalice can be used during the main phase, except the turn it was sent to the grave. We can banish it from the grave and add a World Legacy card from our deck to our hand, which is where the second copy of Succession comes in. Actually, any combo that gets us to Ib lets us resolve this twice. Once on the turn we made her, obviously, but then another turn as a follow-up play to just get back any of our big boss monsters that we've made. And this deck does actually make some pretty heavy hitter boss monsters. We have Mirror Jade we can revive back, and we've got 2 bullets in the chamber in our extra for him. We've got Shooting Quasar. If somehow that leaves the field, we can bring the motherfucker back. We've got the World Legacy World Chalice itself. Although we did just banish it for the second copy, so probably not. But like hypothetically, we could revive this thing back for a disruption. We could I mean, Pit Knight early, IP Masquerena, SP Little Knight, Calamity, I guess, could also be summoned back. We've got some good targets in here. And, you know, having the second copy just gives us extra stickiness. A World Legacy Sorrow. So, this is a Omni-Negate counter trap, which can be activated as long as you control a co-linked monster. So mainly, the setup we're trying to go for whenever we want to resolve this is an IP Masquerena in the extra monster zone, pointing to a Pit Knight early in the left zone, Pit Knight early, and then that'll point to a Lib the World Key Blade Master, which just so happens to be able to set the World Legacy Sorrow. So with like any 6 bodies of link material, we can make that setup, and it's a pretty good setup because if Lib is sent to the grave as link material, she does a non-targeting shuffle of any card on the field into the deck, which can also chain block any other stuff we have. For example, if we make like an Apollosa using the IP, Lib, and Flamberge, we can use Lib to chain block the Flamberge. So if our opponent top decked like a Ghost Spell for turn and was saving it for the Flamberge, then they're shit out of luck, right? Which is pretty good. Being able to chain block Flamberge, and Ib also chain blocks Flamberge in certain combos too. It is pretty good. It's pretty good. I really like having the ability to do that. We've got SP Little Knight in here, obviously. The rest of this non-engine, we got Kurikara. I mean, that's kind of necessary for Snake Eyes. It's one of the best blowout searchable cards they have. It makes her turn 3 pretty strong. You know, among other things, the shit ton of card advantage they get obviously helps. But also, we've got extra deck. So we've got Mirror Jade. Main thing we're trying to make with Albaz on our opponent's turn. It can dump a Titaniclad. We've got 2 Titaniclads, which can summon from deck or add to our hand. Guiding Quem, the Virtuous, which can do a lot. She's a really good card. She's going to, on our own turn with comboing, we're normally dumping Ecclesia. But if we've already got access to Ecclesia in the grave, and we've like used her to make a Mirror Jade, right? We can also, like, in the end phase of our opponent's turn, dump Cartesia, and then Cartesian can add herself back, Ecclesia can add herself back, and then we've got, like, a lot of gas to, like, do synchro plays, to push through our opponent's board, which is really nice. The Golden Sword Soul. So normally, on our turn, when we're doing combos, we normally want to set up Ecclesia with Flamberge, right? Flamberge, in most of these combos, the idea is we're going to use Flamberge to place Ecclesia in the spell and trap zone. But normally we don't end on Flamberge at the end of our combo. Usually at the end of our combo, Flamberge is in the spell and trap zone because it was placed by Snake Eyes Diabellestar, and is going to be summoned by Divine Temple later on our opponent's turn. So normally we need a proactive way to get Ecclesia into the grave, but we also want to make sure we still have a tuner. So if we open Ecclesia, or even, I think if we open Cartesia as well, we want a way to get Ecclesia into the grave, but still have a tuner on board. Which means what we usually do is we can just use Ecclesia's effect during our turn and summon the Golden Sword Soul out of the deck, which is a Sword Soul monster that's also a tuner. Which then, right after we resolve that, we use Flamberge, place back the Ecclesia. Which means then on our opponent's turn we can summon Ecclesia, either directly using Divine Temple or using Flamberge summoned by Divine Temple, and then, you know, summon the Albaz out of the deck and use that as multiple disruptions and follow-up and all that good stuff. But also, it has a second effect in the graveyard. It has a relevant effect in the graveyard where it can banish itself whenever a monster is banished, to special summon a light spellcaster from your hand or grave whose attack equals its own defense, which can summon a Despian Lulu Lilith from the grave, which is pretty good. It actually helps us build some much stronger boards that are more resistant to different types of disruption and doesn't put all its chips on the board just to get Dark Rulered, right? Or Nibiru'd or any of that, right? we've got, I already described all this. Alright, extra deck. Mirror Jade, Titaniclad. We've got Ib. Ib can add on Synchro Summon, adds World Legacy Succession, and then if it's sent from the field to grave, summons a World Chalice monster from the deck, which is World Legacy World Chalice. Or it can summon it from the grave, which means it can get Ghost Spelled. Or if we hard open the World Legacy World Chalice, we can like pitch it for Diabellestar and it's still fine. We have Malong, as I described earlier. It can raise its level by 1. We have Despian Lulawilith. So on the field, whenever a card leaves the extra deck, you can make all your monsters gain 500 attack permanently, and then negate the effects of one face-up card on the field until the end of the turn. And if it's in the grave, during the end phase, it special summons a light spellcaster monster from your hand or deck, whose attack equals its own defense. So in some lines, you can use that to like summon a Quem or an Ecclesia out of the deck to get access to the Albaz disruption, which is pretty good. Crimson Dragon, so we can use it, target Lulawilith, and summon out a Shooting Quasar or do a Calamity Lock. And we have these 2 different targets. We have specifically the combo of Diabellestar plus Quem allows us to make both of these. Like, we can make a Shooting Quasar and a Crimson Dragon, and then on our opponent's turn in the draw phase, we can Calamity Lock them. We have a Linkuriboh, really good for, using we can use the Snake Eyes for it. It is usually our best way to trigger Quem proactively. And also, its graveyard effect to, like, tribute a level 1 monster to summon itself, we usually use to, like, tribute Populace, summon itself, and then Populace's effect is going to set Snake Eyes Diabellestar in the Spell and Trap zone for follow-up. We have Pit Knight early, IP Masquerena. These 2 are usually used in tandem for a nice little negation setup. We have SP Little Knight because she's crazy. Always a good card. Also, just so happens to trigger the Golden Sword Soul. So if you aren't able to make your Mirror Jade, you still might have a way to like get your Lulawilith back on to the field. We've got Lib, the World Key Blade Master. We can only link summon it if there's a World Legacy card in our grave, which can usually be Succession or World Legacy World Chalice. But we can also, during the main phase, it can set any World Legacy spell or trap from our deck to the field, but it can only be activated that turn if we have a World Legacy card in our grave. World Legacy monster, right? Yeah, World Legacy monster. It cannot be activated this turn while you have no World Legacy monster in the grave. That's another reason why this is good. Hypothetically, if you open, like, Diabellestar plus World Chalice, then you can make Lib search Succession, and then activate it that turn. That's a very specific line, and not something we'd want to rely on, right? There's only 6 Diabellestar, and we don't have another great discard outlet. I guess Albaz. But, like, it is something that can happen, and it's something good to keep in mind. And discarding World Chalice isn't bad either, because, remember, Ib can summon it from grave, and in fact, you want to get it out of your hand if possible. But that's just something to remember. But usually we're using it to set World Legacy Sorrow, and that's an Omni-Negate counter trap. It's really good. We've got Apollosa. We're making this most of the time, partially because we really fill up our monster zones, and then we have, like, a ton of stuff we can do turn 3 that we'd prefer to have a bunch of monster zones for, but, like, SP Little Knight's still great. Oftentimes we also have multiple cards we want to get off the field. Apollosa's good for that, so, like, it's probably, just the best link to make for disruption against the opponent. Anyways, let's go ahead and look at some replays I put together. So this here is just Bonfire and any level 4 tuner, basically, which is, like, for example, the Golden Sword Soul. So we can go Bonfire, we can go Populace. Populace is going to search the original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye. We're going to activate that, sending Populace. We're going to summon Ash. We can chain block the Ash so it doesn't get you know, ashed, although you'd probably ash the Sinful Spoil Snake Eye anyway, or original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye anyways, but oh well. Anyways, we're going to keep a level 1 monster whenever we summon Flamberge, and then we're going to normal the Golden Sword Soul for our tuner at this point. Now we can link off Flamberge and Ib to summon out 3 monsters. We did Ib as Chain Link 2 to chain block the Flamberge, because in most all likelihood, if your opponent actually does have a Ghost Spell, which obviously I had the CPU the other side hold it, but if they did actually have a Flamberge, they would drop it on. They would probably hold it for the Flamberge, and this gives you a chance to like chain block it. They can still Ghost Spell the Ib. I'm not. It depends on the hand if you should or not. Some hands you absolutely should because they'll make an Omni before you can next do a Ghost Spell in the combo. But in this hand, Ghost Spelling the Ib isn't the worst idea in the world. Although you could also use it on Flamberge next turn. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and make Pit Knight early using the World Legacy, World Chalice, and Oak. We're going to keep Birch on the field. That's one of the things we want to hold. And then we're going to use Succession, bring back Flamberge. And Flamberge is going to place the World Legacy, World Chalice. So just as this here's not really optimal, what I would actually do with this hand to play through this board. But it's just like a way to show an example how you might like use your disruptions. So we have our Pit Knight early to negate, which can trigger off that Flamberge. We can summon Flamberge. You know, get our disruptions and stuff. We can link off. We can make Ash. We can tribute off. Populace can. Oh yeah, we use Snake Eye. Missed that. That's kind of important. We use Snake Eye. Birch to send off the Flamberge, and then summon Snake Eyes Diabellestar out the field, then use the IP to link away the Snake Eyes Diabellestar, and then that way we get it into rotation, and then also use Populace to put it in the Spell and Trap Zone, and now, boom, we've got an extra body on our opponent's turn. Just makes it harder to break the board fully and cut us off of, like, resources turn 3, right? We also have the field spell, which can get us to the same thing, but like now we can place another Snake Eye off of this, and this can place any other fire monster other than like Flamberge. So this can still place Flamberge, but we can use Snake Eyes Diabellestar to put like I mean, in this deck, our only good target is early, but like in a better built deck, you'd probably have a lot other options, such as a litany of Fire Kings that you could place. And then summon on the opponent's turn. Anyways. And we've got follow-up. We've got follow-up. We've got all the follow-up. We have all the follow-up. Just look at all this nonsense. We're going to place this. We're going to place that. All the follow-up. Depending on what our opponent's board is, depending on how they try to disrupt us, we just have tons of value accrued that we can use to push through. We searched Takuri Kara. We've got lots of gas here. And this is just off of, you know, Snake Eyes Engine plus basically a vanilla tuner, right? Like, we didn't actually use Golden Sword Soul. The only thing that was relevant was that it was a level 4 tuner here. So this is like the worst case scenario if you draw your, like, brick tuners, so to speak. Now we can go ahead and see what Diabellestar plus any old tuner does. So, obviously, we're going to go Diabellestar. She's going to set original OG Snake Eyes. We're going to do Snake Eyes Ash. Ash is going to summon Populace. Populace is going to search the field spell. We're going to make Linkuriboh. We're going to do Populace. We're going to send off. We're going to summon Oak. Summon back Ash. Link up, send away the Linkuriboh. We're going to go ahead and place Diabellestar. We're not really going to have much of a better target. Doesn't really matter, but like Diabellestar is probably the best thing to place. It gives us the most options. We're going to do the same thing as we did earlier when making Ib by chain blocking the... But now we can go ahead and proactively get Snake Eyes Diabellestar, and we can put a tuner on. So we're going to make Lululith and link off the Lululith with another monster to make Lib, because thanks to Snake Eyes Diabellestar, we got an extra body, so we can go ahead and make this setup. And we can go ahead and set World Legacy Sorrows. Now we've got a monster negate, we've got an Omni negate, we've got Lib, which can non-targeting shuffle something whenever it's sent as link material, which can be triggered off the IP Masquerena. And we've also got Flamberge to, get us follow-up. And also, Lululith in the end phase is going to summon out a Quem out the deck, which is going to send a Ecclesia. You could also summon the Ecclesia directly if you wanted, but alas, I mean, value is value. We're just going to let our opponent play for a little bit until the perfect time to disrupt. So our opponent made an extra deck monster, which gives us the opportunity to summon that Ecclesia from the grave. And we're just going to, summon the Diabellestar just to use as link material. And we can go ahead and, chain block our Flamberge using Lib. And we can go ahead and just do all kinds of nonsense here. Wasting all the, interaction on board because, well, I mean, I couldn't... I was kind of lazy making this replay. I could have, given my opponent an actual, hand that could actually play through something, but this is just kind of a showcase, of all the hypothetical points of interaction. We also have a Titaniclad summoning a Quem out of the deck in the end phase, and now we can add back Ecclesia and the Cartesia we just dumped to our hand, which gives us just tons of shit. We've got tons of gas, and we can do an interesting thing here. We can, well, first off, search that. We can place back, we can search. Should have been Kurikara, but for some reason I didn't have it in deck list in this replay. Anyways, we can do a thing here where we sync off Mirror Jade and the Tuner for a level 12, so we make Crimson Dragon. But then Quem can summon back the Mirror Jade because it's a card that mentions Fallen of Albaz, which is awesome. Then we can, you abuse the fact that Mirror Jade is soft once per 2 turns to, banish an opponent's monster. We can, since we banished a monster, we can use the Golden Sword Soul, banish it from grave. Now, admittedly, if this was Cartesia we started with, we would not have access to the Golden Sword Soul. Although, hypothetically, we could have dumped it with a Quem last turn, actually. So I think, hypothetically, if you open either Cartesia or the Golden Sword Soul, you hypothetically could do exactly this. That's assuming a lot, though. But, this is a part of the play we can do. This is what Golden Sword Soul's for. It's summoning back Lululith. Now we have a target for Crimson Dragon, so we can go ahead, boom, shooting Quasar. And then we negate the Snake Eye Temple, and then attack for game. We can do more. We have all of this except this Ghost Bell. Everything except this Ghost Bell is... except these Ghost Bells. Everything except these Ghost Bells is searched and everything. All that, right? We have tons of gas, tons of follow-up. We have plenty of card advantage to just try to play through what our opponent tries to does and set up a board and then force them to, play on the crackback. Which is pretty good. Now, we actually have Diabellestar plus Ecclesia, specifically. Hold on, let's actually do Bonfire and Ecclesia. Yeah. Alright, so Bonfire and Ecclesia, this is, the first actual combo, I'd say, that's, proactive. We can go ahead and, do the Populous line. This one, I decided to make the Linkuriboh first. It doesn't matter that much, but, you don't get to chain block the Ash if you do that. Alright, so here's what I was talking about earlier. So, we normal the Ecclesia, we tribute it off and summon the Golden Sword Soul, and then Flamberge goes ahead and places the Ecclesia. Now we can go Ib searches Succession, link them off, chain block with Ib being chain link 2, summon 3, make early, Succession back Flamberge, and we can, now on our opponent's turn, we should have put Ecclesia where early is pointing, because that actually lets us proactively fire early whenever we want. If we wanted to, get our Snake Eyes follow-up before using the negates or anything like that. Anyways, our opponent makes an extra deck monster, which means we're just going to go ahead and fall into Albaz, make into Mirror Jade. That lets our opponent do their nonsense. And we let our opponent get to the Flamberge. They summon the Ecclesia. Ecclesia goes out and gets an Albaz. And we're just going to go ahead and use early to negate that. And we banish the Flamberge. And we do all our follow-up. We Golden Sword Soul preemptively. There was no... you shouldn't do that. You should only ever use Golden Sword Soul to revive back... What's her face? Lilith. But even with that mishap, we have tons of card advantage. We have tons of shit. We can revive back the Mirror Jade. We can use Mirror Jade again to banish that Albaz. We can Synchro Summon off. We can summon back the Albaz, then make Crimson Dragon because Albaz is an 8. Make our Shooting Quasar. We can use Lilith there to just boost our attack, and we can just keep going and going and going. We got so much gas. A lot of card advantage. A lot of bodies on field. We got negates. So, like... What else do we have? So that was Bonfire and Ecclesia. So now we can do Diabellestar plus Ecclesia. Or Wanted plus Ecclesia. So we can go ahead and start with Wanted. Should be in the draw phase, but oh well. We pitch a card for Diabellestar. We set. We summon out Ash. Ash is going to search Populace. Populace will summon itself, which will search the field spell. We'll activate the field spell. We'll play Snake Eyes Diabellestar. You can do that later in the combo if you want. No real reason to do it then. We can go ahead and continue with our Snake Eyes line. We summon out Flamberge. Now we normal Ecclesia. Ecclesia tributes herself off, summoning the Golden Sword Soul, and we place back Ecclesia with Flamberge. We make Ib. Search Succession, we link off for IP Masquerena, and we go ahead and summon 3 out the deck. Or summon 3 monsters. We make early, we summon the Snake Eye Diabellestar. We go Succession for Golden Sword Soul, we go Lilith, we go Lib. Or sorry. Did I not show you this earlier? No, yeah, this is a different combo. Some of this does look pretty similar. My apologies. I was getting confused. We can say fuck it, sorry with the field spell. We can banish the Flamberge. We can summon back our Lilith. Yeah, this is different. We actually made the Lilith turn 1. That's right. And then we can go ahead and special summon a Quem in the end phase, which dumps a Cartesia. Or no, an Ecclesia? Oh, this is before I added Cartesia to the deck. Jeez. I've been tooling around with this for a little while, a couple weeks. So I'm forgetting some of the things I did with some of the earlier versions, but it's a lot of the same, right? Also, on this in this replay, I fucked up and didn't even activate Flamberge, you might have noticed. Don't do that. But even if, as you can see, we have plenty of follow-up, even if, for whatever reason, our Flamberge gets belled. I guess that shows that. But it really shouldn't get belled. Let's see. So I've shown... Let's do Quem plus Bonfire. Alright. So now we get to show off the power of Quem with this combo. So we're going to go ahead and go Populace. Populace is going to search the original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye. We're going to send Ecclesia. We're going to link Haribo. We're going to Chainlink 1 Quem, Chainlink 2 Populace, which means you can't Ghost Bell the Quem. We can go Ash, search Birch. Birch, send itself in the Linkaribo for Oak. Oak, summon back. We can send those two for Flamberge. We're going to activate Ecclesia, and now we're going to place Ecclesia. And now we're going to make Luluwalith. Now we're going to trigger the Flamberge. Then we make the Ib, and we make the Malong. We summon out the World Chalice. We make the Crimson Dragon. Making Shooting Quasar. We're going to activate Luluwalith just to get that slight little attack bonus on the Shooting Quasar. And then in the end phase, we do nonsense. We summoned out the Quim just because it can give us some extra advantage down the line. But now our opponent has summoned an extra deck monster we want to suck up, so we can go ahead and get the Albaz. Obviously, depending on the matchup, you're going to hold this until, you know, an actually good choke point, but ironically against Snake Eyes, that actually might be the best point to do this. We can also link IP. This one is actually really cool because we could go IP, link off the Mirror Jade, and then Quim can summon back the Mirror Jade, giving us 2 banishes on our opponent's turn, which I think is pretty baller. We can we can go ahead and get our Snake Eyes Diabellestar. I did this in the wrong order. I should have gotten this guy into rotation way sooner. But alas, this is a misplay, but, you know, we still got tons of follow-up, tons of gas, tons of follow-up. We top deck an Ash. We can go ahead and search our second World Legacy Succession. We can go get our Kurikara. We can Crimson Dragon again and just, like, fuck it, Calamity. Also, I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, this is the replay where I purposefully, like, didn't fire the Calamity lock because it's lame, or... No, this started with Bonfire, so, like, you're lacking the extra 8, and you need Calamity lock. But you do get the Shooting Quasar, which is awesome. This is definitely a combo that, like, you could not Calamity lock without giving up a bunch of other stuff, but a Shooting Quasar you can put on the board and be totally fine. So that's why, like, hypothetically, if you wanted to, like, you know, put in some extra utility, extra deck monsters, I, like, honestly might cut the Calamity before I drop the Quasar. And this is one of the combos to show why that is. Quasar works in every combo, and Calamity is much more specific to only, like, the highest end ideal combo, which is the Quim plus Wanted combo. Alright, so we're going to go Wanted, grab Diabellestar pitch, set OG Snake Eyes, sends away the Diabellestar, Ash, get Populous, Populous searches the field spell, we go ahead and draw our card, we're going to normal Quim so we can send the Ecclesia and then summon back the Ecclesia, chain block it with the Populous, then we can go ahead and continue our Snake Eyes line. I don't think I have to continue to explain how the Snake Eyes line works. I think people are pretty familiar with it by now. We do the Ecclesia thing so we can place it back, then we synchro off Lilith, we make Ib, Ib searches Succession, we make Malong, Malong chain blocks the Ib and increases its level by 1, we summon out World Legacy World Chalice, which lets us make Crimson Dragon, which lets us make Shooting Quasar, then we can boost the attack with Lilith, we can make IP, we can go ahead and Snake Eyes Diabellestar, placing back Flamberge, we can Succession, summon back the Golden Sword Soul, and make a Crimson Dragon. So our board is a Calamity Lock, plus a IP Flamberge Ecclesia combo. We also have in the grave the Golden Sword Soul ready to summon back Lilith. And, you know, if we resolve Flamberge, we have shit tons of follow-up that comes from that. Due to zones, I decided not to summon out a Quim from the deck. You hypothetically I could have, though. I just think that, like, there's not enough zones for it to work efficiently if I want to maybe make an IP Masquerena, or sorry, an SP Little Knight rather than the Appaloosa. Anyways, our opponent's going to do some stuff, and we're going to disrupt it, and let ourselves be dumb even. We're going to pretend that we're stupid and for some reason don't understand how that Crimson Dragon's a quick effect here. We actually do let our opponent, if I remember correctly, we let our opponent kind of like break the board, or we just pretend we didn't Calamity Lock or something. Because like I don't have to like tell you that like if you activate this against that hand, nothing happens. Anyways, we can go Albaz, make our Mirror Jade once they make that Link Haribo. They go Albaz, and they get to break the Calamity Lock because we are stupid. And we even negate the Mirror Jade with Shooting Quasar. That means they're going to negate our shit. Uh-oh. I'm actually really proud of this replay because Mirror Jade's gonna negate, and we don't negate that Raigeki it's having, right? So we're doing a bunch of stuff. We're getting, like... We place back Snake Eyes Diabellestar. Our opponent activated an effect. We're just like, okay, SP Little Knight and Shooting Quasar are out of here. They Raigeki us. They do their follow-up. And then we start our follow-up. So we can go ahead and add a Quim to hand. Should have summoned that out of the deck, really. No, wait, no, because Lulu summons the Quim out of the deck. So we got a Quim in hand. We go ahead and add a bunch of cards to our hand. We've got an SP Little Knight and a Shooting Quasar. And we've got the Succession for follow-up. And SP Little Knight points side to side and puts itself back in the main monster zone. And we can make an Appaloosa. We can summon back the Mirror Jade. We can Snake Eyes Diabellestar. By the way, probably wouldn't have the room for it, but you may notice we make a decent number of 8s in this deck. Rank 8's not, like, impossible to include in this deck. I just wouldn't, like, I don't think it can consistently be made enough. Like, it only really specifically happens if you open Diabellestar. And even then, like, Flamberge needs to go from field to grave, so, like, the last thing you ever want to do with Flamberge is use that as Xyz material. So, like, a rank 8 package, hypothetically, if there was some absurdly broken rank 8 that, like, no matter what, it's like, you have to make this if you need to make it, if you can make it, then, like, I'd probably include that card. But otherwise, like, you want to keep Flamberge for Link and Synchro material. That's what it's best for. But as you can see here, we can do a bunch of stuff. If we wanted to, we could, you know, if we didn't work dumbasses and didn't waste our Crimson Dragon, we could have made another Crimson Dragon here. If we can trigger Banish, we can get our Lulu Lilith back again, or I think we already used the Golden Sword Soul. But as you can see, we still have plenty of gas, despite the fact that we just, like, already, got Raigeki'd in the end phase, you know? So, like, this just goes to show, like, how resilient this deck can be. Versus one particular type of disruption that's very poorly timed, but, you know, it is what it is. And I think that's everything. Another thing that's, like, I can't really show in a replay because I didn't make one for it yet, but is good to keep in mind, is that opening either Quim or Ecclesia and then just, like, only bricks and non-engine is, like, hypothetically, like, it's a very fragile board, but you can still play. You can just, like, go, like, normal Quim, dump Ecclesia, wait until your opponent summons from the extra deck, then you summon back the Ecclesia, and then you can just use Ecclesia to drop an Albaz on your opponent whenever, like, the time comes. And then, you know, that means you get to make a Mirror Jade, which gets to dump a Titaniclad, and Titaniclad can just go ahead and get you another Quim out the deck, which can dump the Cartesia, and you add Ecclesia and Cartesia back, and if you still have the Mirror Jade on field, you can do a bunch of, like, Synchro 12 plays, right? Like, you can special summon the Cartesia, Synchro off the Mirror Jade and the Cartesia to make Lulu Lilith, and then you could trigger Quim, summon back the Mirror Jade, get a second Banish and extra deck dump, and then, like, normal summon the Ecclesia, synchro those two off to make Crimson Dragon, make Shooting Quasar. And then, like, if you wanted to still get, like, the end phase trigger of Lulu Lilith, you could hypothetically still... also with that Ecclesia, if you're, you know, using your synchro material, might as well, like, get the Golden Sword Soul into rotation, right? Which can then, like, hypothetically, you could, like, make an SP Little Knight using the leftover Quim and the Lulu Lilith, and then SP Little Knight's Banish can trigger the Golden Sword Soul to bring back the Lulu Lilith, and then your board would be, like, an SP Lulu Lilith and a Shooting Quasar, which is, like, pretty good especially in this hypothetical, you've probably entered a grind game. So an SP, an Omni Negate, and then like another Negate. Seems pretty good to me. And then you have a number of top decks that can enter your Snake Eyes engine and then help you continue to grind your opponent down. And so yeah, that's basically Albaz Snake Eyes. I think it's a pretty neat deck. A lot of it does rely, especially this Synchro package, but even this Link package, the Lib, for example, really relies on Snake Eyes Diabellestar existing. This card is pretty good. It's deceptively good because it really is just an extra +1 off of cards you were already using. But then just the fact that you have an extra 8 to use for Synchro material is like the reason I made the deck in the first place. It's like the brain blast that happened, like, hey, you can make 2 8s using Snake Eyes. So like if you could get 2 level 12 tuners, you could do a Calamity Lock, which is like, oh, well, Quem's a way to do that. And then like as I actually started exploring it, I realized that like, oh, there's actually some cool nuances here. And also I noticed 4 + 1 = 5, which equals Ib. So yeah, this is a really neat brew that works way better than I thought it would. I thought it would be gimmicky and fragile as shit with the, Calamity Lock, and it would just be like, if you can't Calamity Lock, you can't die, like every Calamity deck, basically. But this actually does seem to have, like, a good amount of grind game and stuff like that. It's just that, I'm not exactly, like, there's definitely sacrifices made here. Like, the fact that you are running only 1 Ash and you're running 1 Ash, 1 Populace. The fact that you're running the, these three, these three do not do anything on their own at all. Like, at all. This doesn't do anything on its own at all. This is actually decently useful. I didn't talk about this earlier, but like World Legacy Succession, hypothetically, like Succession plus Oak specifically could hypothetically like still get you full Snake Eyes combo if you open Oak plus Succession, because what you can do is like Oak, link off for Linkuriboh, Succession, summon back Oak, send itself in the Linkuriboh for Ash, and then Ash can go full combo and get you all the other stuff you need. And then like later on when you summon back with Flamberge, you can and then like hypothetically you can send off with Flamberge, and that can get you what you need. That can get you back to Oak, sorry. Jeez. But also it's like really neat to have those like setups of like IP early Lib, this is like, because like Sorrow is a card that like, I don't know, I just think it's really good to have an Omni Negate counter trap. It's just the best protection you can get. But also Lib, just like every single board you ever want to end on in this deck at all has IP. Like there's just not a board this deck makes that doesn't have IP except like normal Quem pass or normal Ecclesia pass, right? But other than that, like you're pretty much always going to be like ending on an IP. In Lib, just synergizes really well with that, and gives like just a nice extra bit of disruption on top of like being able to potentially search a Reborn or searching an on-negate counter trap. Pit Knight early is just a really good card, and I think people should be really should be putting this in more Snake Eyes brews, I think. Especially just it being a fire is really convenient. You might notice we're running no Promethean Princess, no Amblo Whale, none of that stuff. That is, once again, one of the big sacrifices of running this big old synchro package, of running the 2 Titaniclads, all that. The extra deck space, the pure Snake Eyes engine is run a little thin, right? That's why we're running like 3 Ecclesias, although, once again, she's more than fine on her own, but she's like really good once you open, your one of your 3 or one of your 9 cards that can, start your combo without your normal. Another few things that like you might want in this list is like Prosperities, obviously. I mean, you're relying on 2-card combos, so being able to have a consistent way to grab the second piece is really good. But then again, you use up a lot of extra deck space, so it's not like Prosperity's like an easy choice, but like, you know, you can be like, oh, I'll sacrifice 1 Titaniclad, and like I won't need the Malong or the Calamity this time around, and you know, maybe I don't know. I don't think the decision's that easy. So Prosperity's maybe not a great idea. This, you know, that's one of the big sacrifices of using this like really sloppy extra deck rather than just like going pure Snake Eyes and going all the follow up. Snake Eyes Diabellestar is a card that's like a huge reason why I think that like it would be better to just run the deck pure, because it gives you so much more guaranteed follow up. Also, you may notice we don't have like a second Diabellestar target. Like if we already have Simple Spoil Snake Eye, we just set this. We just set Wanted. Obviously, you could side deck the other options or use up this non-engine space for it. But I think with only running 1 Ash, 1 Populous, it's just not likely enough that we're going to open like Diabellestar plus Bonfire to be able to like justify searching as second Sinful Spoil other than Snake Eye. And because of that, you know, we want to keep all our stuff like minimized and searchable and stuff like that, and just max out on non-engine in this particular build. But like, you know, this build does definitely sacrifice a lot of the strengths of pure Snake Eyes, but it gives that up for like pretty varied and interesting boards that like mix fusion and synchro and links and all that kind of stuff, and does it in a way that you don't quite see every deck doing right now, which I think is actually really interesting. So I actually really do look forward to this coming to Master Duel, because I am just a Master Duel player throughout. But this is something that I'm like really fascinated in, and I really hope that, well, first off, it has to be legal. She's way too important for this deck to work, but like if she's legal in Master Duel by the time this stuff is all legal, then I'm gonna have a lot of fun playing this. So I hope you guys maybe someone else can see this, experiment with it, and make it better. And find more optimal like uses and ratios. I'm gonna cry to see like how they change this, because that's the fate of every rogue decker. But anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope that this has inspired potentially any other brews you might want, because like if people haven't already realized it, Quem is a very strong card, but also just like I think Ecclesia as a disruption is just so strong. It's so strong, especially in like I think some of these cards kind of like should see a reevaluation, but like this shouldn't be the thing that got you onto that. Honestly, it should have been Joshua Smith's, you know, Bestial Runic deck. But like Quim's a great card, and I really think it should start seeing play in a lot more things, because I think there's a lot you can cook with this. Because I think this is something that on its head doesn't look like it would synergize well, but I think it actually works really well together all around. But you know, to be fair, I haven't done many like actual test hands with this, so like take it with a grain of salt. Anyways, see you guys.